Okie dokie. Hello, everybody. Good evening. We get one take for this, so if this is good, great. If not, it's not great. I'm going to talk to you about my survival kits I've made. I've made two of them. One is a small everyday carry kit, and the other one is kind of my bug out bag, whatever you want to call that. And they're adapted to my area. Your survival kit, it has to be adapted to whatever conditions you are living in. I live in the southwest Arizona desert, so I don't have to take in certain factors like crazy cold nights or being on the ocean. I don't have to worry about that. Mine is specifically for where I am at. You're going to have to adapt yours to wherever you are. So without much further ado, we'll just get right into it. Okay. Now, got a disclaimer. These are not complete. I am missing a couple of items, which I'll talk about as we go here. But they're about as complete as I can get for right now. So I will start with the everyday carry one. This is my everyday carry first game survival kit. So we'll start from the outside, work our way in. So in a survival situation, I guess there's a few things we got to consider first, actually, before we get going. So there's three or four basic things your body has to be doing for you to survive. You have to maintain your body temperature. You have to stay hydrated, and you have to keep your mental state healthy. Right. That's it. If you can do all three of those, you're surviving, you're peachy. And so your survival kit has to be based around meeting those needs. Now, as far as like your mind, your mental game goes, that's just practice, that's determination, that's not giving up on yourself. That's being willing to accept you are here, and you are here in the survival situation, and you're willing to accept what you have right now where you are. Being present, that's a whole different psychological ballgame, and only you can work on that. That's it. As far as like staying hydrated goes, that's largely a learned skill, learning to find water, learning how to treat water where you find it, but in general, learning to find it, because when you're trying to survive, you're not worrying too much about is there bacteria in that water. You're surviving. Surviving, in the words of Les Stroud at a conference I went to up in Canada, a survival conference up there, he said, survival is what makes you cry. Survival leaves you crying, wishing for your mom. So it's not pleasant, not romantic, it's brutal. So you got to stay hydrated, drink whatever water is nearby you. I'm not going to go into too much about that. I'll talk a little bit about water treatment as we go here. But perhaps the biggest factor is really maintaining your body temperature. Homeostasis, I guess is what we're going to call that. And homeostasis, there's a few different ways that you can preserve that, and it comes back to the three basic needs: fire, shelter, and water. Food is a concern, but it's a pretty low concern. The average human body can go about 40 days without food. It's brutal, it's not comfortable, but you can do it, and you're not going to die. And we're talking survival here, not pleasant camping. So food is a very low priority. So with that little background there on what is important regarding survival, I'm going to get into my kit and explain why I have what I have in it. So I've got one here and another one over there that's a little bigger, a little better. That's fun. And we'll show you what's in it then. Okay. So first, I guess first right off the bat, your number one tool, at least my number one tool, is a knife of some sort. Now, you can go crazy with knives. You can get stainless steel that sharpens like carbon steel that doesn't rust in a million years, that you can do a double handspring backflip with and it will still be totally fine. Gut a car with. You can get really crazy with your knives. You don't need to. Look, pioneers, Vikings, ninjas, whatever, they conquered the world using carbon. Carbon's fine. Carbon is totally fine, and your survival knife doesn't need to be anything big. And that's another thing. Most of the time when you're in a survival situation, you're not trying to hack your way through a forest. You're not trying to hack your way through a buffalo carcass. What you're trying to do is do the little carvings, little bits of woodwork you have to do in order to make implements to make your camp life more manageable, and to adequately field dress whatever game you might catch. And to cut rope. That's the extent of what your knife is generally going to serve. Again, that's for me here in the Arizona desert. Up in Canada, they say screw the knife, we need an axe. And so you carry an axe with you in your survival kit. This is a small, tiny one here in the desert. I don't need a big axe. So a survival knife Generally speaking, it's only be about as long as your palm, about that wide, so 4 inches, somewhere around there. Because you get longer than that, it's too long to do the detailed carving you need to do. And this one's actually a little too thick. This one, it's about a 1/4 inch thick on the back there. And some people like that because you can baton with it. Batoning is where you're trying to cut a piece of wood too big for your knife. So you really shouldn't be doing this in general. But every now and then you have to. And you put it on the stick and you whack it with another stick. So the thicker, heavier blade can stand up to batoning. So in some ways it's more versatile. But I find the bigger, thick, heavier blade is just not all that practical in terms of actual wood carving and detail work that you need in a survival situation. I've never really found the thick blade to be particularly useful. So my favorite is about an 1/8 inch thick blade. But other than that, the shape of this knife is pretty good. Come a little closer for you. We got a full curved blade going along the edge there. That's good. You don't want serrations at the bottom. Anybody who has worked with a knife that has serrations at the bottom and is actually trying to carve wood with it will curse those serrations because they don't do anything. They're too short to be good as a saw, too long so they take up too much of the blade to make it good for just shaving down wood, getting bark off of branches, making a what are the feather sticks. It's not worth it. So you just want a basic general blade. It's got a nice full curve on there. Outside of that, I don't care if you're using carbon. I don't care if you're using stainless steel. Do what your conscience feels good about. Now this one, I'm not going to go into brands because I don't care about brands. You're surviving here. You're not going out for a Bass Pro Expo. You're surviving. So beyond that, the only recommendation I can really give with a knife blade is get with the Scandi grind. And that's a single bevel edge. And that is the best bevel for carving wood, working with wood. And it sharpens up the easiest. It's the easiest edge to maintain. There's a bunch of other bevels out there and they've got pros and cons. Like this one, it's a hollow grind, which is great for meat processing, but really is not that great for carving wood. It's a harder edge to maintain, not as durable. So you want to go with the Scandi grind. So when I get my actual good knife, if I'm going to drop a brand, it's going to be Mors Knife, because Mors Knife makes dirt cheap knives that are really high quality. They have a Scandi grind. You get them stainless, you get them carbon. They're just fantastic. They are kind of the go-to standard for what a good survival knife should be like. And you get those from $10 to $20. They're cheap. So that's the other thing. You want something that you are going to be able to use, practice using, get good at using, and probably break a few times. So don't get anything crazy pricey, guys. You don't need to. So now let's get to the kit here. So I got a lot of paracord wrapped around the outside edge here of this stainless. I'm not sure if it's stainless. I think this is a stainless steel. Yeah. Stanley A brand. Okay, Stanley A brand steel cup here from Walmart. Most of the stuff I got is from Walmart because the goal here was to make something that anybody else can replicate, something that you in your garage can go home and make. Because it's survival, guys. It's not a pageant contest. So I got a bunch of paracord on the outside edge here, and I just picked orange because it's what was there. The nice thing about paracord is it is strong, but then inside of each of those ropes there, you got lots of little fibers. So you can make fishing line out of that. You can suddenly have, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can suddenly have 7 strands all this length. So that's a ton of rope you have just right there. And the one thing that you never, ever have too much when you're camping, living off the land is rope. You never have enough rope. So that's the first thing I have wrapped around there. Now this is a daily carry kit. It's small, compact, doesn't have a ton in it. But one of the things that is important is to have something to boil water. That is the most often forgot thing in any survival kit, I think. Even the pros, they forget to do that all the time. Forget that you have to boil water. Boiling water enables you to be able to cook, enables you to purify. It just brings comfort, brings that mental stability. The list goes on and on and on. And you can't do any of those things. You can't boil water without a cup. Not very easily. I mean, the steps you have to go through to boil water without any kind of container are insane. It's not feasible, really. Not in a I need help right now survival situation. So you need something to be able to boil water in. And that's a kind of space taking up object. So I got something that I could then use to hold all the rest of my kit. So this function as my boiler, some functions as my water bottle. It does all those things. And brand, I don't care about brands. Just find something that works for you and is the size you like. So I'm going to pop this open, take a look inside. I think I'm going to have to make 2 videos because we're like 10 minutes in and I haven't even gone through the little kit yet. Okay, so there are very few things I like redundancies for with a survival kit, but one is fire, because you got to maintain homeostasis. The adage is that you can go 3 hours with 3 hours exposed to harsh elemental conditions before your body shuts down. 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. You know, the numbers aren't quite accurate. It's a good acronym, good simple way to remember things, but your mind is really what's in charge here. But that 3 hours without shelter, it's a way to remember the urgency of the situation. So one of the top things is getting your body warm. It's maintaining that core body temperature. So fire is something that ranks very, very highly to me in terms of importance. So I've got just a little cigarette lighter in there. Brand, I don't care. I've got some all matches burn. But waterproof, windproof matches, and they're just a Walmart variety. I tried them out the other day because I was skeptical, and I was actually impressed. So that's what I have in there in a little waterproof container. And then adding to it all, let me back up a little so you can see what I'm pulling out as we go. There we go, that's a little better. And then I have a little metal match, again from Walmart, because I was just trying to build it all off of Walmart, and I started the fire with it, so it works fine. Dirt cheap. Okay, so I've got 3 different modes of making fire, actually 4, because I know how to do friction fire. I can do a hand drill and a bow drill, so with a knife, I'm set. I've got 4 different modes of making fire, especially here in Arizona, where the friction fire material is everywhere. So I've got fire taken care of. And that's the only thing I'm going to really have a ton of redundancy on because it matters so much to me. Okay, then let's see what else do I have in here. I got a little signal mirror because the idea of survival is to get yourself out of there, to get out of danger. So you want to find ways to try and get help. So make your signal fire, use your mirror, I don't care. Your goal is to get out and get safe. You're not camping, you're surviving. And generally, if you are surviving, I think either you've gotten lost or you've gotten yourself hurt, so you're stuck. So first aid next became a pretty high priority for me. So I got an assortment of bandages in here. We'll go over it just real quick. Got some alcohol prep pads, a couple little gauze things in there, and just a few different sizes of bandages ranging from small to large. So not too much, just enough to, like, if I cut myself fairly decently, I could patch myself up in some regard. Okay. I've also got some Neosporin in there, which is also this one is a burn pain relief as well. And that's for antiseptic, that's for relieving burns, because your number one injury around the camp is actually two main injuries you're going to experience in camp are cuts and burns, because you burn yourself cooking, you cut yourself using your knife. It just happens. Your third injuries tend to be things like rolled ankles, sprained ankles from walking on uneven terrain. So hopefully you're surviving, you're not moving, so hopefully you can avoid that one by staying in one place. I've also got another triple antibiotic ointment in here. And actually, I could probably pull this out because it's redundant. I have Neosporin, I don't need this, so I'm probably going to pull that out. And I've also got some pain relief in here, some Advil, because being in pain sucks. And when you're hurting, your brain doesn't work right, and we're trying to maintain the mental status. You're surviving, life is rough already. You don't need to make it any harder. Okay, and going along with that fire thing, I have a little plastic baggie. It's got 4 cotton balls, five cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly. These are incredible fire starters. They catch a spark really well. You just fluff them up. They're filled with oil, so they burn forever. A great way to get your fire going. Because that's something we forget about too. Is not only do you need that initial flame, you need a way to keep that flame going long enough to start another fire, a larger fire that could be your home fire. So we're going to move this back here. I keep moving my stuff forward. I forget the camera's not able to look that far. Okay. Next, I've got here just a generic Mylar survival blanket. Just a couple things about these. People have this mistaken notion that they wrap around you, you pull them up tight, and that's how you stay warm. Not true. There's no insulation in this. There's no insulation. Insulation does not produce body heat. Insulation just traps heat and it contains it, keeps it right around you. And does that largely through contact, through having dead airspace. Insulation is just that, dead airspace. That's it. With a little Mylar blanket like this, there's no dead airspace. But what this is good at doing is reflecting your body heat back at you. So you want to have a little space between it and your body. So these are great in shelter construction, great for being a very loose blanket around you, around a few people to maintain that body heat. But if you're just freezing, you're wrapping it tight around you, it's not going to do a ton of good. But again, these are fantastic for shelter building, for making a back break behind you or a break in front of you to reflect the fire heat back at you. So these are very high on my list of things I want to have. And again, the whole thing is shiny. So you can reflect, plane flying over, somebody walking by has a very good chance of seeing this. So I do think these are incredible and very important to have. So I've got one there. Ideally I would have two, but I don't have space, so I've got one. And the other thing I have is just a little rain poncho, a little tiny cheap guy, because you know you're stuck. We're maintaining body heat, maintaining body temperature, and rain is real. And these little ponchos, they are great for shelter building. Again, you can make a nice little shelter. I've slept on the rain poncho shelters countless nights, and they work fine, work great. So this serves a variety of purposes. It can be a shelter. I can tie it up into a giant water bottle. So very, very practical, very useful thing to have. And that's it. My Mary Poppins bag is empty. That is my everyday carry backpacking survival kit. And I feel pretty good about it. There's a few things I need to add. I need to add a compass. I don't have a little compass in here. And that's because I have not ordered one yet. I just figured out what my address is finally. Long story there, but I just figured that out. So I'll be ordering a compass. And beyond that, I feel pretty good about it. It's got most of the bases covered. I can collect water. I can purify it. Giardia on the trail sucks. You don't want to get it. I've had it. It's the worst. Avoid it. So be able to purify water through boiling, your most effective means of purifying water, because it always works. And I can collect water. I've got cord, poncho, blanket, shelter is taken care of. I've got 3-4 different methods of making fire here, and I've got a little bit of first aid. That's really all you need. So that's my basic everyday carry kit. And just to give you a little background here on where I got this knowledge from, I didn't come up with this. This is not my idea. The idea of carrying your kit inside of a water container, I got that from Mors Kochanski of Karamat Wilderness Ways. He just passed away last year, earlier this year. So I'm sad about that. And most of my information also comes from David Wescott and David Holladay and various other instructors I've had over the last few years. So if you like it, replicate it, but adapt it to your area, your situation, and where you are at. And yeah, I'm going to finish this one up and start making my video where I explain the other kit I've got, because it's a lot bigger.